Now we're going to talk about the solo mode for Rise of Tribes, but before we get in, you are going to see some upgraded components over there, but you actually do not need these. You can use the ones that come with the box, but I have them, so I'm going to use them. So let's get on to the Rise of Tribes solo variant. We are going to be calling the First Tribe. Setup for the First Tribe is very simple. In the middle, you will put the wild tile. This is one that can be anything. If you do not have a wild tile, pick any tile, but it will be a wild tile. Once you have your wild tile, you're going to take 3 of each of the main tiles, 3 forests, 3 mountains, 3 lakes, and you are going to set them up to look like this. Now, the configuration on the inside is not as important, but you have to have at least 1 mountain, 1 forest, and 1 lake on the outside of our little upside down diamond. Next, you need to choose your color. I will be working with red. Now, in the game, these are expendable, so if you lose them, they come back. But in the solo game, when you lose them, they are out, so keep them close. Next, you need to pick a color to be the enemy. Right here, we'll be using yellow. Unlike you, these will just keep coming, and they are not expendable. There are 3 other things we need to set up, and we will talk about those now. We have the invaders. What you need to do is go through the event deck and take out the shared knowledge card and the chieftain card and put those back in the box. We will not need them for the solo mode. Next, you will go through the event deck and take out the invaders, the mammoth, and the saber-toothed tiger, and find the tokens for each. These are going to be part of setup and the main part of the game fighting back. The rest of the event deck can go up by the board, which is going to be handled as normal. And you have taken your player marker and placed it where you want. 0 for a hard game, 2 for a normal game, 4 for an easy game. We're going to go normal and put it on 2. We'll talk about how all that works in a moment. In the meantime, we have our saber-toothed tiger. Place the saber-toothed tiger on the mountain hex. We are going to follow those rules, and he will go right up there. And we'll go ahead and put the token or the card right next to the saber-toothed tiger so you know how that works. Next, the mammoth is going to go to the lake hex, which we have over here. So we'll go ahead and pop the mammoth right there and put the mammoth card over here so we know exactly what is what. And whatever the last one is, the invaders, they will actually go on the board. It doesn't have a specific spot for them, but for our solo setup, they're going to go on the grass tile, every single one of them. And we will place the invader tile right next to it, so you are aware of what happens with the invaders. Now, the rest of the setup is pretty much the same. You will set up the board at the top by rolling the dice and placing them on here. It doesn't really matter how they go. Just make sure there are 2 per spot, but we will talk about how that works in the actual game in a moment. Now, for your home tile, there are 2 things that you're going to do. You're going to start off with a hut. Huts work differently in the solo game than they do the normal game. In the normal game, you're popping them all over the place and trying to collect the victory points they get for you. You're still going to do that, but instead, all of these diametrically opposed foes are going to be coming for you. So your village is going to be a wall. So that wall will go here. These walls cannot be destroyed, so don't worry about that. So put them where you feel the biggest threat will be coming from. And then in the normal game, you would put 2 of your little people meeples right there in the middle. But for a solo, since you're playing by yourself, you're going to put a 3rd one. Now it is the first tribe, and you will feel free to use any tribe that you would like. It does not matter. At this point, you may choose to use the player powers. However, for the solo game, I would recommend not using them since they are primarily very interactive. So we're just going to focus on the regular, and let's go ahead and go with the Tonga tribe. And then as the final part of setup, go ahead and take all of the cards for your color, put all of your tribe members on your board, and then the color that you chose for the other tribes to be, you're going to take 2, and you're going to place them here, 2 with the mammoth, and 2 with the saber-toothed tiger. The saber-toothed tiger and the mammoth have specific rules we'll talk about in a second. The barbarians are their own little thing, and we will talk about those in a moment. All right, so now we have our game set up. We're going to go through a couple of things. The main rules are going to primarily be the same. You're going to roll your 2 dice, and you are going to complete the task up top. However, there's going to be some funky stuff that's going to happen based on the die you are taking back. Let's go ahead and talk about the extracurricular people they're going to be messing with your game. Normally, when you roll 2 moons, you will advance the deck up there for the events, and that is still going to remain the same. The only difference is anytime there is a card that requires you to place resources on it, you'll only place half the resources. So if we place 6 stone here on the card, instead, we will only place 3. Also, here we have any doubles that are rolled down here. We would add a group to the invaders to a max of 5. That is still the case. So we will continue to add these, much like these. They will get split up, except the invaders here, or the other barbarians, or whatever you want to call them, the yellow player will only enter from the top 2, and the invaders down here, the purple, will only enter from the bottom, and there's a lot less of these to contend with, so it's just more of a focus, these and those. Now, in regards to resolving conflicts, we'll talk about it, but the easy is all of these are worth 2 each. All of these are worth 1. All of these are worth 1. The saber-tooth tiger and the mammoth are worth 2. So it's going to be a lot of battles, and you are going to have to either outmaneuver them or take care of them very, very quickly. The saber-tooth tiger here, much like the same way, if you ever roll doubles, you move the tiger to a new mountain. So the tiger can move individually from the people. It just starts on the same space as them, and it will only eat your people. So you got to keep that in mind. It will not attack its own villagers or whatever you want to call them, and it will not attack the other invaders because they know the land. And then the mammoth is fun because the mammoth is actually going to work by normal mammoth rules. You can receive 3 food and a victory point and remove it from the board if you attack it, and you can attack it if you have 4 tribe members, because this is going to move like a standard unit, and you get to determine if you want to move that unit. So this will actually either help you or hurt you. All right, so here we are. You are the first tribe. You are the ones who are carving out this land. You found your oasis. Now, how are you actually going to play the game? The game is going to work the same way. The first thing you are going to do on every turn is score your villages. They are walls. We'll talk about that in a bit as well. Boom. So you already are on the 3rd victory point. Good job. Now, the game will end one of a handful of ways. If you have lost all of your peoples, then you will lose. If you make it all the way up to 15, you will win. If by some miraculous reason something has happened and you're able to wall off your entire square here, then you'll win. But you'll most likely have way more points than that is worth right there. Anytime you build a village, you have to have at least one person in the center to add those extra walls here. So you don't actually need anyone else, but you will need someone in the middle at all times. The other characters on the board can occupy the center. It's not that big of a deal. So let's talk about how the game is played. Once you have scored, you will roll your dice as normal. If you do have the double moons, you will resolve the invaders and you will resolve the saber-tooth tiger and any events the way you normally would. You will determine which action to take, and here is where the challenge will come from. Let's go ahead and pull this closer to us so I can show you what's in store for you. Now, in regards to you taking the individual actions, you will take them the exact same way you would in a multiplayer game. You will grow based on the symbols up top, depending on which combination you have, either 3, 2, or 4, and then the last one will fall off the bottom. It'll be the same way for move, it'll be gather, and lead. This is the exact same. None of that is going to change. Here is where it gets difficult. If and when the die that you take off the top, if it is a single moon, that is bad. And then all of the bad guys will get to do the grow action, or if it's here, they'll do the move, they'll do the gather, and they'll do the lead. Obviously, gathering and leading, they're not going to be collecting resources or partaking in any of the upgrades, but they will hinder you from doing yours. Let's start easy. Let's say you came here, you complete your full grow actions. We're going to be able to grow 3 people. I already have 2 there, and I don't want to have any kind of conflict, so we'll just load them up to 5. So now everyone else grows. Now the barbarians only grow whenever 2 doubles are rolled, so you're not worried about the barbarians. You're mainly focused about this other color here. And you will add 1 to each side of them as such. So they will just add up there. No big deal. We're starting off slow, not a big deal. Now if it was move, you will move everybody. So you will move the barbarian. You'll get to move 1 barbarian, 1 of these guys, and one of these guys. Once again, the saber-tooth tiger will move on its own, and the woolly mammoth has a rider. So at any point, you can put someone on the mammoth to move the mammoth, and you move them together. You can always take him off if you want to leave the mammoth behind, but the mammoth will only move if he has a rider to ride the mammoth. That is how that works. That is how that works. So this whole total here would be 3. 2 for that one, and 1 for that one. And don't forget these down here are 2 apiece as well. And then gathering. Gathering is a little bit different. What you're going to do is if you ever take off a moon, instead of gathering the amount, you will gather half of whatever the amount is. You can mess that up any way you want. So instead of 2 from 2, it will give you 4. You'll be able to take 2. So you can take 2 from 1 or 1 from 2. I'll let you figure it out. Here you would normally be able to take 2. In that case, you'd only be able to take 1. And this one, you would normally be able to take 6 or a combination possible, but instead you can take 3. So you can actually use the gather to your advantage to try to lessen the blow. If you actually are not able to take it over there, you just have to focus on the amount. Now we get to talk about the lead. Anytime you have a half moon, it's not going to take away from your completed goals or your goals in progress. That's too mean. But what it will do is take a single card of yours and it will be discarded away. You do not get to look at what that is. It will slowly start to thin this deck to take away your options, and there is no way to get that card back. And that is the solo mode. There's a couple of things you might want to pay attention to. All the victory points that you would get for defeating the mammoth still apply. All the victory points you would get for defeating the saber-tooth tiger still apply. If you defeat the last invader via conflict to achieve 2 victory points, that still applies. So the quickest, easiest way would be to get those victory points. All you have to worry about is surviving until that happens. Let's talk about resolving conflict right quick. So we have our saber-tooth tiger that will jump to a space. Now they only eat you, otherwise they just act as a normal character. Now here we have so we have a situation where it's the saber-tooth tiger, the yellow player, our invaders, and then you. Let's go ahead and give you one more just to give you a fighting chance. There we go. Now the normal way it would work, this would be a 3-person duel. However, it's technically just you versus the game. So it is you versus them. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 against your 2, and you have to get that. So it's a total of what, 8 down to 5. So you'll remove 1 each. Now you have to remove 1 character. That's it. So you can remove this one, and they'll remove this one. You can remove this one. Now, keep in mind, you will not lose villages. That's not what this is about. If you would like to turn the challenge up, you can absolutely lose villages. So you can make it to where if you're ever out and they are able to get in there with at least 5, so a full set, then every turn they will start taking away a village, and if they take away all your villages, you lose. You can really do this any way that you want. It is your game. It is your solo experience. That is just the basics of the first tribe as you sit here to try to carve out your role in the world. If you do have any questions about rules, clarifications, anything like that, anything that might spice this up and make this a little better, let me know. Remember, if you do like it, put a thumb. Check the description for the other solo variants we're going to be messing with. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you do. Thank you so much. Happy gaming. Peace out.